Consider this your trigger warning. The following program is strictly satire and is not meant to be taken seriously. So don't get all butthurt, you liberal snowflakes, just because we skewer your sacred cows and expose all your lies and hypocrisy. Truth hurts, and so does satire. So grab a drink, pull up a chair, and enjoy the show.
Hey, John, your mic is off.
Well, shit. Thank you, Mr. Ooman. I hit that. That's twice now. Welcome back to Sunday Night Live. It is the Zoo. And I want to tell you guys, I'm very excited about the things we've got to talk about. But unlike any other day of the week, this is the show where you get to talk about what's on your mind. And we've got a lot to talk about. Let's see. I've got a cup of coffee here, loaded with the Kraken. I've got a bottle of Glenfiddich 18-year scotch right there. So I've got all I need to fuel me. You guys get to make the call and the suggestions. Super chat buttons up there or down below. We've got, let's see, Venmo, CashApp, and PayPal. And to kick the show off, we've got Darcy T with a $50 PayPal super chat. And I love starting the show off with Darcy T and Chin music. So let's do it. Let's get wild. I tell you, well, this is medication right here. This is, well, you could just call it, it's like mother's milk. Anyways, Darcy T, thank you again. Kicking off 2024, folks, it's hit the fan, and they're coming after us big time. The topics I want to talk about, the topics you want to talk about. So here it is. Cheers, prost, salut. Down the hatch. Woo! There it is. Bam! And Darcy says, good evening, John. Can you please talk about T-Mobile and their updated usage policy about monitoring text messages for SHAFT? And SHAFT stands for sex, hate, alcohol, firearms, and tobacco. She says, it seems to me that the ambiguous use of hate will further erode our freedom of speech even when texting. Now, I spoke a little bit with Ooman. There's been some research on this terms of service update. Essentially, what they're saying is non-T-Mobile users are getting spam text messages soliciting sex, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and or hate-filled. A lot of syllables in that. They are, include, could be, and also are hateful. So here's the thing. That's what they're saying it's going to be about. I mean, surely we do not want child or any human sex trafficking going on with unsolicited text messages or hate, but alcohol? I mean, is Bud Light having Dylan Mulvaney text people and try and, sell beer? But firearms and tobacco. Now, listen, I am not a T-Mobile customer, but I have gotten plenty of solicitations. Well, they don't start out that way. They start out as, hey, Helen, are you free for lunch tomorrow? Right? Someone pretending that I'm someone else. This has been the way it's been going the last 6 months. Pretending there's someone and we're friends, haven't heard from you since high school. Hey, let's catch up, right? Just text me. And then I just, you do one just to see what it's about. And it turns out, oh, well, I'm sorry I got a hold of you, but, hey, we could still have dinner, right? And it's prostitution, right? No one has texted me, hey, dude, let's go get a bunch of beers. I got a truckload, just fell off the wagon. No firearms soliciting, no tobacco soliciting. It's funny, though, that they have hate in there. T-Mobile, if you're concerned about hate in your text networks, why don't you stop at every college, Democrat office, school, right, in Washington, D.C.? where apparently hate-filled messages about Jews and Israel is completely allowed. That's right. They seem to have no problem there, do they? They have no problem there. They're really, folks. And apparently in Washington, D.C., that's all they are about, is playing butt pirates and butt darts. And they love to go around at bars and say, hey, can I push in your stool for you? They're worried about sex crimes out here. They're worried about sex, period. Boy, folks, Washington, D.C., unbelievable. Now, I'm going to answer Darcy's question. So that's what we've learned, Darcy, is, well, it's supposed to be about just outsiders texting into the T-Mobile network. What about inter network? Are they going to monitor T-Mobile to T-Mobile for sex, hate, alcohol, firearms, and tobacco? They're going to give them the shaft? How about when people in T-Mobile text out into other networks? You see, this is the proverbial slippery slope, can of worms, Pandora's box issue. Does T-Mobile have a right? Does T-Mobile have the authority to get into someone's messages? I remember when the United States Postal Service wanted to charge a tax, a fee, right, to email. This was years and years ago, folks. They wanted to put an email tax on there because, hey, it's mail, and the U.S. Postal Service has a right to regulate mail. Well, it's not really mail, is it? It's electronic communication. Do they get to tax phones, a text message? Do they get to tax, well, letters sent by DHS, UPS, FedEx? No. But the government seems to think they can control everything and tax everything. And companies like T-Mobile, Verizon, Sprint, they think they can do the same, that they have a right to tell you what's going on. They can charge you for the service, right? But the service they give us is to be hooked up to the network, the cellular phone network, the cellular data network, an SMS messaging network. But we're going to find out. It'll probably go to the court at some point. It'll be a federal court thing. Now, again, I don't want crime happening. Why is T-Mobile or Verizon or Sprint or any other company for that matter, why are they monitoring messages? Why? Shouldn't that be the police, whether they're local, state, or federal? Shouldn't the police be? Well, they can't do that. They are not supposed to invade your privacy, impugn your privacy, unless they suspect a crime has been committed and they swear in an affidavit and have a court judge sign off on it and say, I agree, you have enough evidence that you are suspicious this person is in the act of committing crimes, and we are now going to monitor and trace them. So they're going to monitor, which means record, write down, build files, and send to some law enforcement somewhere. Once again, we're dealing with the government using private business to control our speech. So where does this end? Well, we're just looking for sex, hate, alcohol, firearms, and tobacco. But we decided we're going to use messages, right, to screw people over. We're going to use messages. We're going to find out all the nasty shit you're saying about your mother-in-law. That's right. We're going to get your mother-in-law or your daughter-in-law, and we're going to get all the things you're saying about your daughter-in-law. And we're going to go to your daughter-in-law and tell her about it unless you pay us a fee. That's called extortion or blackmail, if you will. But who's going to stop them? Who's going to complain? Who would you complain to? Hey, someone got a hold of me on the phone and said that they've got all my nasty messages. I don't know if it was Sprint, the FBI, or the fucking KGB. You just don't know. Slippery slope, folks. Now, if we went from wherever we were to here in one shot, you go, hey, John, this is the first instance of a private corporation using their authority or their presumed authority to try and control and regulate, monitor, and record our speech. They'd say, you can't use the slippery slope argument there. But hey, the slope is slippery. And since what? The 1970s, it has really gone downhill. Yeah, I'm going to go back to the 70s. Then the 80s. Once we got cell phones in the 90s, ho, ho, ho. And then we got the internet in the mid to late 90s, ho, 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 it got bad. All the communication going on and the government's desire to record and keep track of it. I remember in the early 90s hearing about Echelon. Look up Echelon, Echelon. Echelon and the NSA and find out what it is they've got. And that was conspiracy theory talk from the early, well, it was early, 92, 93, 94. 1994, folks. We're talking about the government monitoring without authority, permission, warrant, or cause. So when they say that T-Mobile says, hey, guess what we're going to do? We, T-Mobile, we're going to start listening in on your conversations. Yeah, that's what's going on. We're going to start listening in. But only in this one little kind of isolated way. The shaft stuff. Right? That's the slippery slope. That's the camel got its nose in the tent. If you got something that you need to say, you need to write it on a little napkin and carefully slide it to the person you're talking to and say, read that. And as soon as they get done reading it, you light it on fire and it disappears. Thank you, Mr. Phelps. I accept the mission because anything you say out loud could be heard. Anything you put in your phone and send in an email, a text, it can be intercepted and used against you in, well, a court of kangaroo law. Now, here we are. We're less than 15 minutes in. We're at 250 people plus and going up live. Hit that thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, you cannot comment. Hit the subscribe button down below. It's either set at 5 or 10 minutes. I think it did for 10 minutes today. 10 minutes, you'll be able to talk, chat. And trolls are not allowed. Anyone who does a super chat donation, and I get it, we'll put your comment, question, thought on the screen and we'll talk about it. You get to run the show. And we need and appreciate all your generosity. It shows up in a lot of different ways, and I want to thank you guys for doing it. Got to keep the lights on. Got to keep tuna fish, spam in the old pantry. It's going to get nasty this year. Nasty this year. And all super chats, $50 or more, Glenn Fiddick, 18-year single malt Scotch whiskey, smooth as silk and nourishing as mother's milk. Anyways, that's been a great way to support the show. And then get me half lit on Sunday nights. That's right. Get half lit, talk about shit hitting the fan and what we need to do about it. And what we need to do about it, get prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense with your plan. That's what we do here, folks. That's what we talk about. Too many people have no idea what Darcy was just talking about. That the text companies are coming out and saying, we're now putting it in our policy. They don't give a shit if it's eroding our freedom of speech. Now, they didn't say, as far as I know, that they will hide the message, cut the message off. They just said they're going to monitor. Just monitoring your text messages. That's all they're doing, just monitoring. Monitoring. Now, when it comes to something like hate, I don't believe in hate or hate crimes or hate speech. I don't. It's bullshit. Show me the injured party. I do not have a right to not be offended. I am offended every fucking day. 7 days a week, I am offended. I'm offended by Democrats, socialists, communists. I'm offended by bleeding heart liberals. I'm offended by anti-American. I'm offended by pro-terrorist. scumbags everywhere. I'm offended by crony capitalism, banking. I'm offended by the Pentagon's just absolute lack of decorum. Everything that was military is being torn down. They offend the shit out of me. Everyone in the LGBTQIA plus world is offensive as fuck to me. I'm going to talk about a group that I normally don't talk about. I've got an article on them as well. But I want to just kind of get into this here, right here. In New York, as in New York City, a high school basketball game was, well, stopped. And it's girls basketball nonetheless. They played through the first half, and one of the high schools said, hey, they were kind of rough, but we're excited to be here. It was a private school versus a public school. And it got rough. But after halftime, the offenders on the other team came out and they quit playing basketball, became even more physically aggressive, and then started hurling slurs, shitty comments. Let me give you a little taste of it. One person says, I support Hamas, you fucking Jew. That's right. One of the schools, it was private, was a Jewish school. Now, personally, I don't give a shit if there's Jewish schools, Mormon schools, Catholic schools. Couldn't give a fuck. Now, do they have a right to not be offended? No. I don't care if you're Jewish or Mormon or Muslim. I don't care. You don't have a right to not be offended. But this is supposed to be basketball, sports. These are supposed to be young Americans. They're supposed to be women. I support Hamas, you fucking Jew. So the coach and the team said, that's it, we're walking. And they left the game. Did they do the right thing? I think they did. It has made alternative media national news this weekend that this kind of shit has left the Middle East and come to America. It's come to America and become embedded in the Democrat Party. It's embedded in colleges. It's likely embedded in the Pentagon, but I don't have word on that yet. And it's embedded in high school. It's embedded in the streets where you can just start talking trash about Jews and Israel and America, folks. So when I heard this story, though, I said to myself, and this was before Darcy sent her question about, hey, this whole shaft thing with hate in it. What happened to the term hate speech? Hate speech to me is not a crime. But in today's environment, especially in a high school basketball game, high school, right? You're representing your school. That's supposed to be important. You're representing your nation, your state, your family. All of these things you're supposed to be representing. You could not get on a sports team when I was a kid unless you represented all things good about your area, starting with your family, your community, the school, the state, and the fucking country, meaning national anthem. You stood. You put your hand over your heart, and out of respect, stood there politely and quietly. But these people have forgot all about that. These high school girls forget being a lady. Forget being in that high school. Forget being in New York City, New York State, and in America. Forget all that. Fuck it. Everything's out the window. They're talking trash like they're terrorists. Isn't that hate speech? It's not a crime, but why is it being allowed? Now, I'm going to ask this question. Why can't racial slurs be tossed around by everyone? Why is it only okay to call people crackers and blue-eyed devils? Why is it okay, right, to attack Christians and now Jews? And they need to be genocided. Every last one of them exterminated. Why is that okay? Number one, This is divide and conquer by Democrats. That's what this is. Truly, that's what this is. It's divide and conquer, because that's what they want to do. And we'll talk more about this divide and conquer mentality, the reason for bringing in all these illegals, what it is to be an American. This show is going to kick some ass tonight. I want to thank you for being here, truly. I want to thank you for being American, truly. I want to thank you for being cool in the comment section. Man is there. He's the guy with the blue wrench on his name. Same with Jolene, the prepared mother. We are self-policing. While I don't believe hate speech is a crime, I like good, how do we say this? Good old American camaraderie. And we can ask tough questions. And I appreciate tough questions. But we also need to be polite. We've skyrocketed up over 325 people live right now. So thumbs up. You just showed up. Hit that internet address up there and share that with other family members, friends, co-workers. Send it to everyone you know who gives a shit what they think, because they're going to start thinking something different when it breaks out in their neighborhood, when they get BLM or Antifa or a bunch of fucking pro-Palestinian Hamas people in their neighborhood. And what gets me about these girls, these dumbass high school girls from Yonkers, of all fucking places, when the Palestinians come marching in down their street, do they think they're not going to be kidnapped and raped? They're about as dumb as a box of fucking rocks. Same with the LGB for Palestine. Those fucking morons got kicked out of the parade. No pride flags allowed in a pro-Palestinian parade. They don't know it, but they're going to be eaten for lunch and worse. It's that kind of world. It is. They're that fucking stupid. Truly, they're that stupid. Oh. Okay. We got everything kicked off here. Let's do it. Jolene Uman, who wants to step up first? Or second, rather? Uh-oh. Soft Kitty checking in. Hey, John. Paid for the shots from the last zoo when you forgot. Well, you said bourbon. Nah, scotch. Well, I guess I owe. So down the hatch I go. I think it was Uman reminded me of that, and I think it's because I did a talk in the middle of the week. Yeah, it was prior to New Year's. Anyways, all right, here we go. Thank you, Soft Kitty number 9. Ooh, smooth as silk, man. Woo! Wake you up. Wake you up big. Thank you, Soft Kitty. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. Biaxo checks in with a $4.99 super chat donation. He says, I don't know why it's a tinfoil hat when it's clearly aluminum. Biaxo, I want to bring this right first and foremost. If you're a conspiracy theorist, if you're a wacko, if you're crazy and off your rocker, right? See, that the term conspiracy theorist was created by the CIA as a pejorative, negative term to describe people who did not believe the official licensed government response to who the fuck shot Kennedy's head off, right? And it wasn't just one bullet. It wasn't just 2 bullets. It wasn't just 3 bullets. It was a lot more than that. Well, you're a conspiracy theorist and tinfoil hats. Now, the expression, if you're crazy, you're wearing a tinfoil hat, is an old expression back when tin foil was tin. That's my understanding, because it's clearly aluminum now, and it's been aluminum my entire life. But tin and tin foil, right, was an early version of it. That's my understanding. That goes to show you how far back they've used that expression to talk about you and me and call us nuts. So Is it a conspiracy theory or is it conspiracy fact? How many, there is an actual shortage of conspiracy theories. Now, did you know that? The percentage of real to false stories is going down, because the conspiracy theories are being proven to be accurate, right, correct, and on the fucking target. Literally on target. So they're not theories anymore. They have been proven to be correct. The CIA did have an awful lot to do with the murder of JFK. The Secret Service had an awful lot to do with it. And it's not just the JFK situation, folks. There's a lot more to it than that. Truly, there's a lot more to it than that. But yeah, clearly it's aluminum. And in fact, in California, thank you, Biaxo. In California, the corporate job I had there for 10 years, handling engineering and construction and contracting and stuff. The boss of mine, I had two bosses. One was a Marine, the other was a South African. And he used to say aluminium. And I was like, hey there, pal. Don't be bringing your funny accents into our country. He said, hey, John, look it up. And I looked it up, and lo and behold, it is aluminium as well as aluminum. Aluminum is the American version of aluminium, which is the original name and accepted worldwide. Apparently, using the I was, I guess, contradictory to American virtues. I don't know. Plutonium, uranium, aluminium. So yeah, that sound is there quite a bit. Anyways, I'm going to give you this. If I'm wearing a tinfoil hat, in fact, Uman, known for his high quality aluminium head devices, they're around. But I'm wondering, look, conspiracy theories and theories about politics and the military and war and banking and business and everything. It's not just for us little people. It isn't just for us little people. A strategist at J.P. Morgan, that's right, J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, one of the largest banks in the country. One of their chief strategists has predicted that Joe Biden is going to drop out of the race between Super Tuesday and the November election over health concerns. Now, I wonder, has Jamie Dimon been listening to me and you talk? Because that sounds like a wild conspiracy theory. Not only is he making a prediction about the future, something that's usually left to people with the title prophet, whether religious or secular. I'm the prophet of prepping, but only in the secular manner. Then there's the religious prophets, and then I guess the psychic ones, the guys that keep their head dunked in a vat of hot oil or something and stare at a mirror. Those guys. I'm not one of them. Anyways, J.P. Morgan has now entered the realm of conspiracy theory, predicting what a presidential candidate is going to do, predicting when it's going to happen, and predicting the reason it's going to happen. The president, between Super Tuesday and the election, over his health. Honestly, literally, I remember way back when Joe Biden first took office after the January 6th screw job. I didn't think he would make it 6 fucking months, folks. Anyways, I think Jamie Dimon has been listening to the Prepared Mind channel and probably been listening to your text messages out there. Good stuff. Okay, let us continue. It is Sunday night. Tomorrow is January 8th, week 2. So let's do this. Jolene, who do we have in the world of super chats out there? It is Chin Music. And thank you, Chin, for your ongoing, non-conspiratorial talk, always bringing us facts as well as his sense of humor. He says, get ready for 24. When they can't pound the facts, they will pound the table. And we are the table. And that's kind of why I used for the thumbnail of this video, Joe Biden, in all of his devilish glory there, trying to look presidential, powerful, and one might even say dangerous and threatening with his red light. It's incredible, folks. He was speaking over the weekend, Joe Biden, moron extraordinaire. Can you believe that Democrats wake up every day and they go, yeah, Joe Biden, he is the best president we've ever had? No, they don't say that. They're scared to death of Trump. They're scared to death of you, Americans. That's who they're actually scared to death of. And the best they have, the best they can do is Joe Biden. Let's go, Brandon. That's the best they've got to put up against Trump. Can you believe that? That's the best they have. Unfucking believable that that's the best they have. Can you believe that shit? That's the best you guys got, huh? Joe Biden? Really? Nice work. Anyways, the point is they don't have facts. They don't have truth on their side. They don't have history, culture, tradition, or law. They're going to violate the fuck out of all of us, folks. Pounding on the table when you don't have a logical, clear, concise argument. Instead of raising the level of your intellectual debate, they raise their voice. Pound on the table, scream and yell. Let me give you an example of how stupid they are. Right? Who are the critical thinking in the Democrat Party? Who are the intellects and the philosophers? In fact, does anyone even know what their political platform is besides bring in terrorists from the south of the border, as well as every worthless son of a bitch from Mexico South and Africa and the Middle East? Just bring them all in. That's their political platform. Oh, abortions for everyone, sex changes for children, and groom the hell out of underage children for, yeah, that's what they've got. Well, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, talk about a table pounder, right? Again, AOC, the woman who can eat an apple through a picket fence, and she won't get a single splinter in her lips. She wants to make illegal immigration legal. Literally, this is what that brain surgeon of a congresswoman said. Totally enlightened. I thought, wow, perfect. They just say everyone's now legal. She wrote this quote, and this is an excerpt from her bullshit speech. People don't have a documented and reliable path to work and sustain themselves, just like all of our ancestors did and our grandparents and great-grandparents. By people, she's talking about the illegal people who snuck across the border and had Joe Biden and his government hand them a bunch of money and tickets. So the answer, according to AOC, is just declare them to be legal, right? Right, AOC? Well, they still don't have jobs, and they still can't sustain themselves. But now they are Americans because they're legal, and they can get real welfare forever. See where she's going with this? Now, what the fuck does she know about ancestors? My ancestors had to agree to indentured servitude. That is, they agreed to be slaves for a fixed number of years in order to pay for their transportation to this country and to be allowed to live in this country and to be allowed to work in this country. You don't just show up and make demands. They had to negotiate before they got here. They signed contracts before they got here. Now, this was in the early 1700s in my family. Ancestors. You didn't just show up. Today, we've got George Soros and other anti-American Democrat scumbags paying for people to come here so that once they get here and Biden lets them in, Then they give them your money. Now you're like, hey, I haven't paid any more taxes than I ever paid, John. I don't know. It's not hurting me. Oh, yeah, it is. Have you heard of inflation? Yeah, you have. Gas, food, cars, tires, clothes, cost of everything, cost to travel, cost to live, electricity. Have you seen your fucking electricity bill? Everything's going up. Why? Because the government is just printing money, shooting it to Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, Ukraine, just shooting money everywhere. Oh, you show up in our country? Here you go. Have some money. Have some credit cards. There's so much money out there, it's competing for the same amount of stuff. So a store says, hey, if you're willing to spend $10, surely you're willing to spend $20 for a pound of steak. Have you looked at steak prices lately, folks? Outrageous. Everything costs more because they're printing money and throwing it around. There is a cost to it. Modern monetary theory, there's nothing modern about it. They've done it for centuries. Countries that are going down, ruin their currency by printing and overprinting, and the currency becomes worthless. So fuck you, AOC. You're an idiot. You don't come here unless you know you got jobs coming. As we're going into a recession / greatest depression ever is the possibility. The Treasury folks and the Federal Reserve use the term soft landing as they bring us down into this recession. They want it to be a soft landing. You know, I guess it determines who determines how soft it is whether you're in your ivory tower watching the plane come in, or whether you're on the fucking plane and what they're calling a soft landing is no wheels, right? And a bunch of boulders on the runway that you keep hitting as your plane is crash landing. And they're like, oh yeah, that's very soft, very soft. Only half the plane is engulfed in flames. No problem. Anyways, that's what we got. That's what we got. What do you want to talk about? What's on your mind? Hit that super chat button and let's hear it. I got a lot of stuff I want to talk about, but it's your turn. And now it is Boomer with a Canadian $20 super chat donation. And he says, hey, let's not forget that America and the West was built on Judeo-Christian values. So an attack on Jews is an attack on all of us. Well, I tell you what. The Christian Bible is a Judeo-Christian reference work. No doubt. No doubt. America, Canada, Europe, all took their morality lessons from the Judeo-Christian Bible, aka the Holy Bible. It was Catholic for the beginning, and it became Protestant and Catholics. And that system of thinking, of rational moral behavior and thought, produced ultimately and eventually hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of refinement, application of thought, intelligence, philosophy, application of the rules. We got to this idea of the United States of America, Canada, Anglo-American countries being the most free on the planet. Where are we going now? Anyone? Yeah, we're going to hell in a handbasket. That's right where it's on the road sign right in front of us. That's what's happening. As the country of Canada and America and Australia and Scotland and Ireland and New Zealand and Britain itself, as we move away from Judeo-Christian values, the countries are going to hell. Are they not? It's easy to see. You don't have to be religious. You just have to understand that those values work and create an effect. Liberty and freedom are required to have a prosperous country. You want prosperous? Go take a look at Saudi Arabia. and see what prosperous is for the people. It's not very prosperous, is it? So, let's get to you, Boomer. An attack on Jews and an attack on all of us. That reminds me of a saying, right? When they meaning the Nazis, when the Nazis came for the Jews, I didn't do anything. When the Nazis came for the homosexuals, the gays, no one did anything about it. They went after the Romani, the gypsies. They went after ethnicities they did not like. Everyone thought it was fine until it was time for the government to come after them. And then they realized there wasn't anyone else around them to protect them. So if they're attacking the Jews, it is an attack on me because they're in my country doing it. And if they can attack the Jews, they can surely attack the Christians. If they can attack the Jews, they can attack the Gentiles. If they can attack the Jews, they can attack the Puerto Ricans, the Hispanics, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Native Americans, the blacks. If they can attack the Jews, they can attack any of us. They'll even attack each other because when they're not busy fighting us, fucking stupid Muslims are fighting each other. But that's the way of ignorant humanity anyways. So thinking you're special and better than everyone else, that's not a good way to go about dealing with other people. So this idea that we're superior to you, whether it's the Japanese or the Chinese or the Europeans or the Jews, you're not superior to anyone when everyone else is trying to kill you. Pull your heads out of your asses and figure out who the enemy is. I'm going to give you a clue as to where they are at. Are you guys ready for this? They are in Washington, D.C. That is exactly where the enemy is at. That's where the power is being unplugged or redirected and destroying this country. Thank you, Boomer, very much. I haven't forgotten any of the things you just described. I appreciate your great generosity and your sense of humor and your intellect as well. All right, we're at 385 people live. Get that internet address out there. Send it out. Text message. Hey, Verizon. Hey, T-Mobile. Hey, Sprint. Send that thing text message. Email. Fucking carrier pigeon. I don't care. Just get it out there. If you're watching the show and you just got here, thumbs up. And, of course, you've got to hit the subscribe button if you want to join us in the comment section. Jolene, who is going to step up next? Super chat donation talk time. Whoa! Is Bonnie Blue with a $49.99 super chat donation. I tell you, folks. Uh-oh. Dropped it. Another Glenn Fiddick for the Mr. John. And I tell you, this country, folks, it started with the Holy Bible, right? Puritans wanting to leave England and get away from the King of England. Way back in what, the late 1500s and 1600s? Puritans. They were kind of puritanical. They had that same Judeo-Christian Bible. But when it came time to form this country, they needed everybody on board. And so they didn't say you've got to be a Christian. They said you got to believe in an almighty, a God, a supreme being. In other words, something bigger than us that was moral, that was universal, that was consistent. So it doesn't matter whether you're a Jew or a Gentile or a convert or anything. It's just you need to hold those values most high. Thank you, Bonnie Blue. There it is. Supercharging the John. So she says, huge winter storm systems moving in across the country these next 2 weeks. Have your fuel, have your preps in order. Winter car kits in place. Be safe out there. This is great advice as we change seasons. We're in the Northern Hemisphere, and a massive portion of this country can drop into the freezing temperatures. Now, I'm down here in the South, and while it gets pretty close to freezing, it's not enough to just kill us unless you sleep outside in a pair of shorts with no blanket. But she's absolutely right. You need to have fuel. Whatever your backup heating source is, whether it's kerosene heaters, I love kerosene heaters, or propane, love me a little buddy propane heater, right? Any form of heat. You can have coal for all I care. I don't mind the carbon. I'm made out of carbon. Doesn't hurt me a bit, right? Gasoline, whatever you need, folks, to be able to heat your home and cook your food. Get it and make sure you're in good. Get your preps in order for the winter. It is the deadly season, probably the most deadly season we have. It can get fucking hot. You can sweat your ass off. You're uncomfortable. You can die from heat exhaustion, heat stroke. Certainly, right? But winter, right? It takes the biggest toll on folks. And have a kit in your car. Ice storm, you can go off the road. People may not see you, especially if your engine is off and your brake lights are done. Right? You can be sitting there and no one will see you. You may be stuck in your car. You may be wedged in between a couple of trees. You need to survive. So having it in your trunk is a great idea, but what if you can't get out of the car because you're wedged in? Right? It's good to have blankets and means of survival. Just handy. Have it handy. At the very least, have it in your trunk. Honestly. Be safe. Winter is dangerous. And yeah, we've got some great storms coming in. Now remember, winter is not new. It's been around for a long time. A long ass time. It's amazing that we have to remind people, Bonnie, but it's always a good idea. Even though seasons change slowly and we get lots of notice and warning, it does sneak up on you. We're busy. We're busy paying our taxes. Right? We're busy getting our asses kicked. It's tough. It really is tough. Anyways, Bonnie, thank you so much. In all things prepping, not just your winter prepping, look around and see who is out there. Is the Supreme Court on your side? Is the Supreme Court making your life easier and better? Is the Supreme Court ruling that the government has to shut the border? Is the Supreme Court ruling that taxes are unlawful to be weighed against us, levied against us? No. The only thing they've done right is announce that the federal government has no say over abortion, and the Second Amendment means what the Second Amendment means, and they got to get even better about saying that. Beyond that, court's no good. How about the legislature? They're not doing jack shit for us. Are you prepared? They're not trying to help you. The president definitely is doing everything they can to make our lives even more difficult. Literally inviting in scumbag after scumbag after scumbag after scumbag after criminal scumbag, whether they're drug dealers, pimps. Just they're awful people, folks. Awful people. Okay, I before we get to the next super chat, and thank you for sending these super chats in. Jolene's letting me know there's more coming. Get ready, John. And she's keeping a secret as to what size they are, whether I need to look at that bottle of scotch. Anyways, I wanted to finish up this thought about Americans and who we are. Right? America is being divided by the president, by Congress, by colleges, by schools, by teachers, by military leadership in the Pentagon. They're dividing us. And patriots, we keep uniting the country. Now, something happened over the weekend. In hockey, of all things, Team USA, and it's the juniors, folks, the World Juniors gold medal championship game. Team USA defeated Sweden 6-2. And after they won, they were on the ice and they were proudly singing our national anthem. Gold medal winners. It reminded me of the 1980 miracle when a rather, how do we put this? Amateur United States hockey team beat the Soviet Union in hockey. The hockey team for the Soviet Union, They were there to destroy every country on the planet. The Swedes, the Finns, the Viking, Norway. They're there to defeat everybody, including the Canadians. Canada has such a huge hockey history, folks. Anyways, it's because it's so fucking cold up there. Anyways, the American team beat them. They beat the commies. Basically a professional hockey team. This is what that reminds me of. These young men coming out and proudly singing our national anthem. America, folks, we are patriots, and it's good to see this. Is it prophetic to see this? You're damn right it is. Yes? Right? There are young people in this country. They're not all a bunch of worthless, whining millennials, centennials, zennial, whatever the fuck they are. Gen Z. They're not all whiners. This country is full of good people with good hearts. And you and I have a duty, in my opinion, to help wake them up. I'm glad they sang the national anthem and they didn't sit on their fucking asses and turn away from it or whatever these other jackasses in sports do. So God bless them to these young men out there for doing that, for defeating the Swedes, who always, folks, put up a hell of a fight. All right, let's do this. Let's move on to you guys. What do you want to talk about on this Sunday Night Live? It's the Zoo. We got a super chat donation coming in, and it is right here, Nancy Keg. The other day I was reading her name, and I was like, it just popped in. What a great name. $10 super chat donation. He says, I'm still an old fart American born and bred, but still believe in good, but will fight for my family when the bad times come. Please, John, pick another great topic of your own choosing. Semper Fi. Always faithful, Semper Fi to you, Nancy Keg. I'm becoming an old fart, but I know what you're saying. I was born and bred, right, American in this country. And I will fight for not only myself and my family, but everyone who is an American. Fuck DC. Read the Declaration of Independence and you'll see that everything they were complaining about with the King of England is happening right in this country in Washington, D.C. Read it. Read it and apply everything we talk about here. That's the topic I want to choose, Nancy. Is that, yes, this is our country. Bad times are upon us and they're going to get worse. No doubt. They're going to get worse. I want to give you an example because that's the kind of guy I am, right? This country is arresting people. It's prosecuting people. It's taxing people. It's confiscating their wealth. It's destroying everyone's purchasing power. It's taking our labor and devaluing it because your 1 hour, 10 hours, 40 hours a week isn't buying as much as it used to. They're degrading the value of your work and giving it to others. Cracks me up. One of the mayors of these fucking towns is Mayor Adams in New York City. The dumb son of a bitch wants to sue the bus company for bringing illegal immigrants there. More on that in a little bit. But back to this idea, folks. What is our government doing for us? They're screwing us over. Let's get Nancy back up there. Thank you very much. I know that my family's been here, and they started getting here in the early 1700s. A bunch of them migrated over because they heard about America, the colonies. They heard about freedom and liberty. We just topped 400 people live. Thank you. Let's keep going. Thumbs up as you show up. Make sure you're subscribed and you can join in the conversation. Now, my family showed up. Nancy Keg, I don't know when your family showed up, but I know when mine did, right? And they've been Americans ever since, fighting every step of the way to acquire and then maintain their wealth and their freedoms and liberties. And here we are. 300 years later, 300 years after my ancestors got here, I am still fighting for liberty. And that's what we're supposed to do, because government is always a fearful servant and a terrible master to us. They think they're the master now. They do. Here's an example. In Washington, D.C., the U.S. attorney, that's right, he works for the Department of Justice. His name is Matthew Graves. And he says the Department of Justice is now going to target all Americans who were in or around the Capitol on January 6th. If they were in the nation's capital, they're going to be targeted. Thousands of Americans. Even if you did not enter the Capitol on January 6th, 3 freaking years ago. Why are they doing that? Why? Thank you, Nancy. Why are they doing that? Why does this chicken shit turd, Matthew Graves, why do they want to do that? They want to demonize us for wanting liberty and freedom, for wanting the Constitution followed. AOC, Alexandria Dumbass Ocasio-Cortez. She wants to just declare people are Americans. You're now legally here. When they do that, they devalue you and me. Born, raised, paid my taxes, and now you're making someone who just got here equal to me. Sure, we're all human beings, but have they paid? That's the part about becoming an American. If you weren't born here, you've got to fucking earn it. You get a green card, you apply. You learn the rules. You take a test. You become an American. You prove that you are an American. Not anymore. Not by AOC. Not by Joe Biden. There is an insidious, evil plan to destroy America and every country in Europe by inviting in the dregs of humanity from around the world. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. And they want more of it. Thank you, Nancy, very much. Being born and bred here. Bad times are here. And old farts. I've done it all. I've done everything except sail around the world in a boat. I think I've done everything. Yep, life breakers, life takers, and heartbreakers. Done it all. I've done everything except destroy evil in the world in which I live. And I wish and hope that I get the opportunity. All right. Hey, we're climbing up in people watching. Thank you very much for coming here. Make sure you're subscribed. Get your comments down below. If you got something to say, super chat button up there. And in the description is a Venmo, CashApp, and PayPal link. You can click on that. You can say whatever you have to say. If the topic is just a little bit, shall we say, spicy for YouTube, I'll use codified language. In fact, sometimes just the things you guys write will be erased. Erased by YouTube, not allowed. Anyways, thank you, Jolene. Let's do another super chat and see what the heck is going on. We got Mr. Skylight checking in. I got to tell you, Mr. Skylight, thanks for keeping in touch with me over the weekend, letting me know what's going on. And he says, here, oh, and Mr. Skylight, $19.99 super chat donation. Every week you're here, man. Every week and then all week. I appreciate everything you do for me, including sending me funny memes. I appreciate that. Sometimes too many. I'm like, holy shit, I can't get to this. Anyways, they're always great and I love them. And I turn around and share them with other people when I get a free moment. On Sunday Night Live at the zoo, though, Mr. Skylight likes to share with us quotations. And here is a great one from an American patriot, one of the founding fathers of this country, a great philosopher, a great communicator, an all-round electrifying guy, invented bifocals. He created the Franklin stove because his name is Benjamin Franklin. He was even crazy enough to tie a key to a string and flew a kite in a fucking lightning storm, trying to figure out how the universe works. That's pretty crazy if you think about it. Anyways, this is the quote from Ben Franklin. Quote, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. Also, quote, never confuse motion with action. That one's a little deeper. Now, let's start with the first one, failing to prepare. if you do not get prepared, if you fail to do so, you have taken no action. No action. Consequently, it is the inverse of preparing. It is essentially unpreparing. You're preparing to fail. Either way you're setting yourself up for failure if you don't do something. Right? If you fail to go to work, you don't get paid. Therefore, failing to go to work is the equivalent of preparing yourself for a week of failure. Now, the second one is a little trickier, a little deeper, if you will. Never confuse motion with action. What have we gotten out of Washington, D.C.? We talk about D.C. constantly, do we not? Constantly. They're doing this, they're doing that. They're screaming and yelling, they're fighting, they're proposing this. The courts are going against the legislature and the president's doing this and that. And then all the bureaucracies. There's a lot of motion. But we're making no action, taking no steps in the right direction. It's a swirling toilet tornado, and the only action is going down. There's a lot of motion, but we're not getting any action in the right direction. So never confuse all of the rhetoric coming out of politicians' mouths. Don't confuse their mouth movement. That's a lot of motion with action. Now, here on the Prepared Mind channel, you, my friends, brothers and sisters, are taking action. You are. You're taking action. Look at this. We got on my screen, it says 395, 400 people live. It flips up and down, up and down. Anyways, you are getting people to come here. You're telling people, hey, come and watch this. This guy's nuts. You won't believe what the hell he's saying. You're taking action because I want you to write, call, text, email, carrier pigeon, arrow with a note tied to it, whatever it takes. Get it to D.C. and tell your congressmen, tell your senators, get off their fucking asses, stop all of the commotion with their lips, and start taking action and make this country free. Get them actually doing something for us. Thank you, Mr. Skylake. Indeed. Thank you very much. Jolene, where do we go next? Who's up on the Prepared Mind channel? It is Misty Cook, those 10 steps. With a $5 super chat donation. And that little S symbol right there. That means Misty is a member of the Prepared Mind channel on YouTube. We also have membership on the subscribe. I'm sorry. The Scotch is getting to me. Thepreparedmind.club and subscribestar.com. And if you are a member on subscribestar.com or a member on the preparedmind.club, you can join us live Monday through Friday. But on Sunday night, we're all here. And Misty Cook says, trying to ask you something and the sky in the eye keeps flocking me. Maybe Uman doesn't like me. Smoke signals. Don't know if they will reach. Help. I don't know what's going on. You said the sky in the eye keeps blocking you. You mean the eye in the sky keeps blocking you? Uman, unless you're writing some really racist, crazy, stupid shit, he is not the one who's blocking. So what he's saying here is that was the first comment I've seen from you. So maybe the topics you're using, we need to put in some code words and then get them translated. Very good, Misty. It is artificial intelligence the last probably 2 or 3 months. It's been turned on. They're tuning it. They're using it to silence and censor us. Literally silence and censor us. They don't want you to hear an alternative opinion. They don't want you to think an alternative thought. Frankly, I'm surprised I'm allowed to talk at all because I talk about things that are very dangerous, like freedom, liberty, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. That's why getting people to come here is so important. You may be sending emails out to people and they're not paying attention to them. They're afraid. They're being blocked. They're being stolen. I still have people who say, I've been sending you emails, John. I'm like, I am not getting them. It happens all the time. They are trying to silence and censor us, just like they're shadow banning the Prepared Mind Network, which is why I say you text, write, pardon me, phone call. If you search Prepared Mind on YouTube, you may or may not find anything from me. You have to type in, I think, the Prepared Mind channel, and then maybe the symbol will pop up. They don't want us to talk about freedom, liberty, our rights, and the government's responsibility to serve us. Crazy stuff, folks. Crazy. Jolene, who's up next? Who do we got? We have Chin Music, and he's back again with another $19.99 super chat donation. And he says, most resources are finite, so an increase in people needing them will provide upward price pressure. So what he's talking about is inflation. If we're producing enough food in America to feed 350 million people, and they invite another 10 million people into the country, these illegals, 10 divided by 3.5 basically works out to, 1%, 2%? Yeah. Anyways, the point is there's less food to go around for everyone. So they go, hey, we don't have enough supply and demand issue. We've got to raise prices so that people who want something, well, they're now bid out of the system. So Americans are being bid out of the system by illegals who are coming here and spending your money on themselves because Joe Biden gave it to them. Now, that's going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. America used to be a huge agricultural exporter. Thanks to government interference, taxation, and overregulation, we now have to import food into this country. We used to feed the world. Now we're talking to Brazil. Hey, Brazil. Hey, Chile, right? South America, bring us some stuff. Now, second part of Chin Music is also ranchers in Texas culled herds during the sweet and sour sniffles and are growing them back now means less to the market in 24. What he's talking about here is, well, yeah, back during the sweet and sour sniffles. I think that was a term that was used by Jericho Green, another YouTuber. But yeah, the sniffles, the hack, the cough, the sneeze, a.k.a. the great cold of 2020, also known as cerveza bug on the Prepared Mind channel. So yeah, during that session in America, ranchers in Texas and around the country killed off their herds. And I thought, how stupid is this? Right? Unbelievable. And now, in order to increase the herds of cattle, what do you have to do? Well, it's hard to grow them back. It's getting more meat to the market in 24. Now, understand that male cows are castrated. They become steers. Steers are grown. Takes a couple of years to get them to market. But yeah, let's see. If everyone's locked in their houses, who's going to go out and get the bull and run it in with all of your cows and heifers? Make sure they're all inseminated. Right? No. The whole world was locked down in 2020 and parts of 2021. It was unbelievable and stupid. So yeah, they weren't producing as much beef, probably as much swine or anything else, chickens, turkeys. Yeah. And if there's less meat coming to the market because they're keeping as many of them alive as they can, right? They're not got less. We need this much beef and they bring this much. There's not as much beef. Prices go up. Then they print too much money and give it away to Iran, Ukraine, and then every illegal that walks across the border in Chin Music's state of Texas. Yeah, all of these things are combining to raise the price of everything, including hamburger and steaks. Thank you, Chin Music, very much. And it continues, folks. It's not going to get better. These idiots are doing everything they can to make it worse. And I don't know if I could deal with what you're dealing with, man, down there in Texas and along the border, watching these illegals just pour through. It's got to be demoralizing as fuck to see it, to have it in your face every single day. Truly, it's got to be just beyond annoying. Beyond annoying. Okay, I've got to share this with you. Jolene, hang on to the super chats you got. This weekend, the little geek George Stephanopoulos, who was the public spokesman, he was the president's mouthpiece in the 1980s under Bill Clinton. He went right over to the mainstream media and got himself a nice job. George Stephanopoulos. He spoke to none other than Nancy the human wineskin Pelosi. And he seemed to be taken aback, stunned, because Nancy Pelosi suggested that individual states can overrule the United States Constitution and ban Trump from the presidential election. Isn't that amazing? I was stunned to hear that she is that hate-filled about Trump. Now, what I want to point to here is Nancy Pelosi. Are you seeing the call for lawlessness? Lawlessness in America. As if violating the United States Constitution is no big deal. Now, there's this thing that when a state wants to do something like Texas, wake up, Chin Music, Texas says, if you're not going to do your fucking job, we're going to put up wire and things, and we're going to keep these damn illegals from coming into our country. And the United States government goes, no, we have the supremacy clause, which is kind of like Santa Claus. They just made that shit up. There's no fucking supremacy clause. That was a court ruling. Well, if the United States government has some authority in any matter, it has all the authority and it's supreme. They just completely fucking threw out the 10th Amendment. Now, a little bit of background this, right? So, the U.S. government says it's supreme when it comes to talking about taxes, interstate commerce, crime, and apparently all that matters except when it comes to elections. And then now Pelosi is suggesting that states can just violate the Constitution with regard to election law. They're calling for lawlessness in this country, folks. Imagine if one of these lawless Democrat fucksticks was holding you at gunpoint in SHTF Mad Max. It doesn't matter whether it's a private citizen or a cop. What if they think to themselves, just like Nancy Pelosi, nah, I don't need the U.S. Constitution. I can make up the law as I go along. I am the law. Because that's what Nancy thinks. We can just overrule the Constitution. We can just ban people. Hey, fuck Trump. You don't have any rights. Hey, American people, you don't have any rights because we're Democrats and we know better. And this is completely consistent with every communist I've ever met in this stinking country because they're the ones stinking it up. Every last commie I've met, folks, thinks that only they have rights and only they have opinions that matter and that you don't have rights. You only have privilege. Every fucking one of them is a little elitist snob piece of shit. Truly, folks. And I want to talk about this secret group I haven't been mentioning. I'll mention them now, and then we'll get to some super chats. So get your super chats in. We're over 400 people live. I want to hit 450, maybe 500. We're at an hour and 15 minutes in, and we're holding hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of live viewers because the content is that important. Now, atheists in America. Did you know that communists are atheists? Not all atheists are communists, but all communists are supposed to be atheists and worship the state, not a god. Now, atheists are out there, and they want record voter turnout because they need to, quote, oppose Christian extremism. And they're telling them, vote like your life depends on it. The atheists are now turning out to be a radicalized, divisive, partisan group. Now, this is important to understand, folks. This is how fucked up this is. Christians cannot force anyone to worship or believe in any form of God. This country, we had Judeo-Christian values, but when they wrote the Constitution, they said First Amendment, nobody can tell you what, when, how, or who to worship, or if you even have to worship. You have the right to your religious beliefs. Christians cannot force anyone to worship or believe in any form of God. Yet these fucking atheists out here are saying you need to vote like your life depends on it. Who are they voting for? There is no law on the voting thing that says oppose Christian extremism. There is no Christian extremism party. There's the Republican Party and there's the Democrat Party. That's our bipartisan system, our uniparty system. Vote like your life depends on it. The only ones who are blatantly non-Christian are Democrats. So atheists are supposed to be Democrats, right? Now, this is what cracks me up about atheists. Christians can't make them do anything, but government forces atheists to pay taxes, obey their laws, and that is far, far, far more intrusive than any Christian belief I hold. So once again, Christians or atheists are just fine with government. In fact, they like power and authority. Atheists are communists, or rather, communists are atheists. And they don't like Christianity because Christianity was the fundamental philosophical foundation and belief system that the philosophers had that led them to conclude that we have rights that do not rely on a king or a government. King or government disappears, we live. The church disappears, we're still alive, still breathing, still eating. We don't need them to live. Our rights pre-exist any organized church or government. Now, atheists don't seem to object to the government very much, but they hate Christianity. Still, folks, atheists act like Christians are the extremists. You know, perhaps atheists, I think, ought to take a look at Islam and radical jihad practices and belief systems and focus their attention on Islam, not on Christianity. Because Islam will make you convert and practice or they'll fucking kill you. I think atheists better pay attention to who the real threat is. So that tells you exactly who these atheists are. They may be offended by Christianity, but they'll be murdered by jihad. Now, atheists have always pretended, in my world when I meet them, to be intellectually superior to others. That's my experience with them. As if denying God, if you deny God exists, that's evidence that you have genius level IQ. Right? It's ridiculous. Right? Now, like liberal demtards, atheists I have spoken with believe seeing and hearing everything of a religious nature is highly offensive to them. Right? I don't like someone shoving their religion down my throat, but I don't have to listen to them. I don't like it when people just run around. Right. This channel is not about converting people to Christianity. We just happen to be mostly Christians here. I don't want to hear all the religious shit. I don't want to hear all of the crap. I don't want to hear that noise. We're focusing on what the secular government is doing to us. And we're learning that the secular government is actually evil. And it is its own religion. Right? We discussed all that. But anyways, I don't want to get too sidetracked. What atheists forget in all of their were offended by Christianity is they do not have a right to not be offended. Just like I don't have a right to not be offended. We have a right to control the forum that we're in because I control this forum, Man, Jolene, etc., who, by the way, believe in God, I think. But atheists, you do not have a right to not be offended any more than the LGB crowd does not have a right to not be offended. The same way the Jews and Israelis don't have a right to not be offended. And why the Muslims, they don't have a right to not be offended. Too bad. This is my country. Get the fuck out if you don't like us. They don't get to say, I'm offended and I'm going to come kill you all. No, it's not how this works. Right? And these atheists, these un-American people, these communists, these Democrats, they don't seem to see that their denial of our rights, our culture, our law, our traditions, our nation, everything they say is offensive to the max. They offend me at every level, including my faith. So, no, being offensive is not a crime. So grow up, you bunch of sissies. All right, I just had to get that out today. I had to get it out. Had to have some fun with that. Good golly. All right, Jolene, where are we going now? I got off my soapbox there. Who is up next on the Prepared Mind channel? It is Chin Music with a $4.99 Super Chat donation. And he says, so as far as high prices go, you ain't seen nothing yet. I agree with you. That whole $10 a gallon gas, it's going to have to wait till after the election. Sorry about that, America. You're going to get a break because the Democrats, the mainstream media, the banking cartel, they're going to want to pretend like Joe and his Build Back Better is going to fix things. It's more like burn it all down. Anyways, Chin continues and says, also, they know that fuck Joe Biden may lose, so they're storming the border this year. Well, I tell you what, Chin. With respect to that topic, I want to let everyone know exactly what all these people are doing here. These people and what they're doing here. I want to get to it. Where the heck did I put it? This must be it right here. Right here. With New York Mayor Adams. He's suing bus companies for bringing illegal immigrants to New York City. This is interesting. And I'm going to circle back here, Chin Music. Buses are for hire. And hiring buses and putting people on them is not breaking the law. Stopping buses from traveling down public roads is breaking the law. It's denying the rights of others to travel. Now, New York Mayor Adams, you idiot, Biden is violating the law. He is derelict in his duty, and he's the one inviting these people in. So go sue your buddy, Joe Biden. Now, I want to be frank with you about what all these people are doing here. They've been storming the border for 3 years, and they're coming as hard and as fast as they can. Because heaven forbid if they can't steal the coming election from Trump. And Trump wins. They know that he is going to slam the gate shut on the border. He has said some aggressive things about his actions that he wants to take. President Trump wants to shut the border and use all available federal resources to do so. Now, will they comply? Yes, they will. The Border Patrol may not do a great job, but if they don't do a good enough job, they will be fired. Will he use the military, National Guard? That'll be interesting too. If they don't do the job they're supposed to do, and that is seal the border and protect this country, which is a constitutional requirement, then they too can be fired. It is a lawful order to protect your country. Interesting. They're storming the border to get as many in as possible because they are absolutely terrified that they're losing voters. They're losing the black vote. They're losing the youth vote. They're losing minority voters. Because all of the Hispanics in this country who have come across the border lawfully, obeying the law and becoming citizens, they're pissed off. They're pissed off that these other people are just coming here and AOC wants to give them citizenship. Really, they're that stupid, folks. They really are that stupid, the left. They don't see this as a problem. It's absolutely crazy. It is. Okay. Let's do another one. Jolene, what's up? What do we got? Who's next? It is Orlando. Hey, Orlando. I hope your weekend was good, man. With a $10 super chat donation. Thank you, sir. He says, since we're doing quotes, here's one. Quote, careful. If you think too much, they'll take you away. They've been trying to take us away for a long time. Who said that, Orlando? I don't know that one. Careful, if you think too much, they'll take you away. That sounds like something that may have been said 80 years ago, 100 years ago. I want to warn everyone also. The government has a history. The United States government in Washington, D.C., long before any of us were born, back in the early 1900s, and then the mid-1800s, this country out of Washington, D.C., has had presidents, government authority, try to silence the people, make it illegal to oppose their opinions. President Woodrow Wilson, giant sack of shit Democrat. President during World War I. He had a lot of things to say about silencing people and arresting people and putting people in jail. You bet. And Abraham Lincoln. He silenced the media everywhere he could. He silenced opposition. Not a good president in my book. Not a good president at all. You don't arrest people because they have an alternative opinion, unless they have a seditious, right? Destroy America, destroy the Constitution. In order to be seditious, you have to want to destroy the country. You have to want to destroy its foundation, the Constitution. I want to strengthen the Constitution and hold the government accountable to it. I'm not anti-democratic. I am pro-republic, pro-country. The Democrats are the ones trying to destroy the country and tear it to pieces. It's easy to see who the insurrectionists, who the evil people are. Now, thank you, Orlando. And they're going to try again. You wrote, they've been trying to take us away for a long time, and they've done it in the past. Well before any of this bullshit we're dealing with today was even a dream in these tyrants' eyes. Government is always evil. Government is always fearful of us, the people. Government is always fearful of criticism of what it's doing. Now, is Trump a good president, or is Trump not a good president? Leave that right there, please. What did Trump say over this weekend? He said, release the J6 hostages. Right? He told Biden, free the January 6th protesters. Trump was in Iowa giving his speeches. Folks, we need to all raise our voices and tell D.C., free the hostages, obey the Constitution, live up to your oath. I listened to a guy over the weekend named Phil Schneider. Phil Schneider was one of the great tinfoil hat wearing Americans. He claimed that he built underground bases for the government. Phil Schneider. I think he had 8 fingers because 2 or 3 of them were blown off. Claims that aliens were underground in these bases. Radical, wacko kind of stuff. Entertaining also. But Phil Schneider kept saying, and he was speaking, he died way back in the early 1990s. Back then, his political rhetoric was, If you're not protecting this country, and if you're doing anything at all with your political power that hurts the country, then you're guilty of treason. If you do not live up to your oath, you're guilty of treason. If you violate the Constitution, you are guilty of treason. And I just thought, wow. And I thought I had some radical ideas about what the government is supposed to do and how they're supposed to remain restricted, chained, have their powers chained, and only allow them to do what the Constitution says they can do. You see the incredible wide swings this country goes through. In the 19 teens, right, 1910 to 1920, you got the government under Woodrow Wilson trying to shut people up, arresting Americans for having an opinion that he didn't like or the federal government didn't like. And then we go back to freedom. And then the communists show up after World War II, and our country has to go to battle inside the country to clean these scumbags out. And they go underground. They go into educational institutions. They go into the bureaucracy and slowly, year by year and generation by generation, install more communists in the government until, lo and behold, it's all communist crap now. Here we are, folks. Now, Orlando says, hey, my apologies. I forgot to put the name of the quoted, that is George Carlin, an incredible satirist, comedian, and philosopher. He used comedy to illustrate how fucked up government is, along with many other people out there. I enjoyed listening to George Carlin when I was a young man, and as I grew into an adult man, and now a mature man. You can listen to George Carlin's humor, especially his political humor. And he was no lover of government, folks. Interesting man. Thank you, Orlando, very much. And no apology needed at all, brother. Okay. There's a lot going on. 2024 is here. We need to demand of the government to release the January 6th hostages. We need to take action, not just wave our arms. We need to demand action, and we need to be prepared to take action. This year, folks, I predict that they will be coming for us. They will be coming for us. Do you remember Jeremy Brown? He's down in the great state of Florida. He was a January 6th protester who was arrested. The FBI tried to hire him to screw over America, but he didn't. Jeremy Brown was also a master sergeant in the Army, a veteran of foreign wars, a combat veteran, and I believe a Green Beret. They found him guilty of 7 out of 10 crimes. They planted evidence, and the jury said that evidence was planted, and they dismissed it. If they plant any evidence, it's all. The entire case should have been thrown out. The government cannot be trusted. If they lie about one thing, they're lying about everything. He was convicted of having grenades in his possession, and they did not consider it planted evidence, even though the government couldn't prove where those grenades came from, how he would have got them, how he would have brought them back from the Middle East when he was there in war. And they completely just threw out the fact that when you come back from a war, you go through a customs shakedown and they make sure you don't have anything considered contraband or illegal. And the fact that the Second Amendment exists, the jury just threw out the part that said shall not be infringed. They ignored it. And Master Sergeant Jeremy Brown is now going to spend time in prison. A United States military veteran, a war veteran, a man who would fight to the death to protect this country, you and me. Unfucking believable. 2024, it's gonna get ugly. Jolene, where do we want to go next? We've got William Hallman, 556 super chat donation. 556 is my favorite caliber. 556, right? NATO. That's what gives the AR 15, its power. He says, hey, John, can our side prevail in this conflict without a civil war? I fear this is where this country is headed. William, we could prevail without conflict, without civil war. Only if the government respected the Constitution and we had a powerful leader who said, if you violate your oath, you are to be terminated, impeached, and thrown out of office. If you violate the rights of others, you are thrown out of office, you're impeached and charged with crimes against people, either individuals or collective. And if anyone who works for the government does anything to harm the Constitution, the country, the government, then they are to be tried for treason and lose all of their rights and go to prison for it. If not, the death penalty. If they could do that, William, we won't have to have a civil war. If we can make and hold all politicians, bureaucrats, judges, prosecutors, if we can hold them accountable to their oaths, their duties, and to the law, then yes. Now, I'll ask you this, William. Have you seen any evidence to suggest that the government and its officials, its agents, are willing to allow themselves or are willing to hold others accountable to their oaths, to the Constitution, to the law? If you have evidence that they're doing that, then yeah, we can win this. Otherwise, you know the answer. I don't see anyone holding anyone accountable in the fucking government. They're trying to hold Trump accountable for laws he did not break and laws that do not exist. And they are trying to stomp our Constitution into the ground and set it afire. And they're completely ignoring it. Just like I described Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi, who says, states can do whatever they want. Fuck the Constitution. And here's another one, folks. Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama. Everyone in the Democrat Party, old, young, new, etc. Now, folks, by the way, Hillary Clinton is named in the latest release of Jeffrey Epstein, Jizzy Maxwell documents. That's right. The old adrenochrome addicts are in the public's eye again. Hillary, 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 they're there. They don't care about the Constitution or the laws. They refuse to be held accountable, period. No one can hold them accountable, can they? It doesn't seem like it. It doesn't seem like it. All right, we're over 90 minutes. In fact, folks, we're at the 100-minute mark on this Super Chat Sunday, the Zoo Sunday Night Live on January the 7th, 2024. 2024. Wild, crazy stuff. Let's do another Super Chat. I know it's out there. Who is up? Who wants something? Who wants it? Who wants it? And it's Boomer21, once again, out of Canada, with a $10 Super Chat donation. And guys, your Super Chat donations, well, the $50 and up ones, they pay for more scotch. Everything else, folks, goes to keeping the lights on, keeping the internet fast, keeping us able to get to the news every day. It takes an incredible amount of time and effort by Uman, Jolene, myself, and many others to get this information brought in here to share it with you guys. So when we do the Super Chats, it's great. It helps make sure everything is going. And then people like Boomer and others, thank you for your generosity. So Boomer says, it would be interesting to know how many times Bathhouse Barry and Brandon, Joe Biden, were at Pedo Island. Can we count that high? Now, with respect to Bathhouse Barry, meaning Barack Hussein Barry Soetoro Obama. That was one of his aliases. It's good to know the president, a former president of the United States, not only was not born in this fucking country, therefore disqualified, should have been disqualified, but he also went by alias names. He was educated around the world by the finest socialist communist scumbags. He attended a college where all the records have been wiped away. There's no record of him at all. Bathhouse Barry, Mr. LGB himself, in my book. In fact, he's called Bathhouse Barry because what? He kind of likes hanging around with the guys, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, if he went to Jeffrey Epstein's little island, he probably would have had to put in a special request for hot dogs. You remember that shit when Trump took office? Back then, there was Comet Ping Pong and spaghetti, pizza, hot dogs. They were on the menu, and they had to fly in hot dogs and pizza from Chicago to the White House for their parties. Yeah, I could probably count that high, Boomer, but I'm sure Bathhouse Barry had a couple of visits. Who knows? But definitely, folks, when we look at Let's Go Brandon himself, Mr. Sniffer, the president, he tends to grope women and especially grope and make uncomfortable little girls, even after it became just a public embarrassment. Totally embarrassing, just disgusting filth. The president of the United States, Joe Biden, continues to go after small children, make them uncomfortable, and try and get them to sit on his lap and let him touch them. It is disgusting. Unbelievably disgusting and filthy. The guy, he's more than just an embarrassment. In my opinion, he is both traitorous and a pedophile. Period. Thank you, Boomer, very much. Look into it. I don't have to make this shit up. They're doing it themselves. All right, Jolene, who do we got next? Let's do it. We've got Misty Cook, those 10 steps. The greatest show on earth? Rumble. Are you saying, it's a reference to a movie on Rumble by Nick Alvear, says Uman. Now, let's go back to Misty's super chat donation. Yes, I'm supposed to promote the preparedmind.club, but I will also promote anything that is freedom, liberty, America. The greatest show on earth is on Rumble. Go to rumble.com, check it out. See what you think. I continue to find just odd information in the strangest places. And then I watch it and say to myself, does it fit? In fact, I was sharing some thoughts today or over the weekend with people having to do with belief systems and how we were educated. Right? Were you educated to repeat what you were told? Or were you told, here's some information, think about it, and then find out if there's more information? Come to your own conclusions. Think for yourself. Don't just believe everything you're told by your teacher. Think for yourself. So that's what I do here. I don't know if any other channels do it, but I say, hey, look, I have an opinion. I have thoughts. I get information. I share it. You get to decide whether it's true or not, whether or not you want to believe it. You get to decide how you apply it to you. I tell you, food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Put together a plan for your area that you live in. Is there any doubt, right, that that's good advice? What part of that advice is wrong? You think you don't need water to live? You think that you don't need a gun to protect yourself? You can ask yourself why, answer your own questions, make your own decisions. I'm telling you that history has demonstrated conclusively again and again, everywhere around the world, including America, you've got to look out for yourself. And if you don't take care of all those things for yourself, then somebody else is going to control you. Somebody else can control what you're doing, where you're at, how you think, because they can withhold parts of that from you and say, hey, don't do as you're told. You don't get medicine. You don't get food. You don't get water. You don't get protected. You take all of that back into yourself, into your own world, when you protect yourself, when you become a prepper. You don't become a slave. You become less controlled, more free. All right, Jolene, who's up next as we close out and get to the last 15 minutes? I'll tell you what, anytime the super chats keep coming in, I'll stay past 2 hours. We've done it many, many times in the past, and it's going to start happening through 2024. Why? Because the shit's going to get real. It's going to get real nasty, just like it did in 2020. It is coming. Doubt me? Look into the news. Decide for yourself. Bonnie Blue with a $19.99 super chat donation says, situational awareness. Wes's is more important than ever. Situational awareness is more important than ever. It is especially so for women. Millions of gorilla effing males have crossed our borders who share neither our culture nor our morality. And it's worse than that, Bonnie. It's worse than that for all women here, as well as children. As well as children. I'll start with the children. Please understand, I don't like reporting this shit. It makes me sick. But a male Florida teacher in Florida, a male teacher is facing federal charges because he made at least 28 different sex tapes with an 8th grade boy, one of his students. I don't know how this guy got a hold of this boy and would take him to other places around the state and into hotels and film an underage boy, an 8th grade boy. That's 13 years, folks. 12, 13-year-old. That's what these people, these un-American, disgusting, filthy people do and think. Now, let me continue. Bonnie Blue is specifically talking about the millions of scumbag, non-American, guerrilla fighter aged freaks that have come from the South. They've come from Africa. They've come from the Middle East. It is not only, Bonnie Blue, that they don't share our culture and our belief systems as Americans. They don't share our Judeo-Christian morality. And to make things worse, either they're criminally minded and they completely ignore the laws of decency. But if they're Muslims and they're jihadis, and a lot of these guerrilla warrior age scumbags are just that. They believe it is their duty and their right, according to their belief system, their culture, their religion, that they can rape women. They believe that it's just fine. In fact, they'll be rewarded for it by their culture and by their religious system. And even in heaven, they'll be rewarded for doing what they're doing. So women of America, wake up. You better have situational awareness. When you step out into public, you better look right, left, and straight ahead. And every few feet, it would not be a bad idea to turn around and see if someone's following you. You go to get in your car, you better make sure there's no one in the back seat. You better make sure there's no one sneaking up behind you so that when you pop the door, they don't shove you in all the way and come in the door behind you. You better make sure, women, that you have some form of protection. I did a complete episode on it months and months ago, talking about tasers, chemical agents, and of course, talking about your right to carry weapons, guns, to protect yourself. It's going to get that bad. It truly is. People around the world continue to pretend like the rape isn't happening. It is. October 7th in Israel, the stories are still coming out about it. And Hamas and the Gaza Palestinians, they still think it's just fine that all those women were raped by Hamas. And all the Hamas supporters, all the Palestinian supporters, all the yay, let's go Muslim supporters around the world are continuing to ignore that this has occurred. And these idiot women in America that think that since they're pro-Palestinian, they won't get raped. No, you're wrong. You'll probably be amongst the first who do, because you're going to be stupid enough to show up at a protest or rally, and you're going to get drug into the bushes and raped. It is awful what these people believe. And they've been doing it in Europe now for years. And they don't go after their own people, folks. They go after, that's right, Christians, Americans, the Swedes, the Germans, you bet. They go right after them. The French, the English, they go right after those women because they think it's their right. They think it's just fine. They think it's okay. They think they'll actually be rewarded, that nobody cares, that they would think that the women are whores because they managed to catch them. These are the people right here. These guys right here. People like this. Not your friends. And it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse when the violence starts. And I really think it's going to happen this year. 2024, it's really going to get nasty because it's an election year and Democrat lawmakers, right, they want to get reelected. They want to vote themselves in. In fact, folks, I've got an article here that a Democrat lawmaker or lawmakers, they made threats against one of their own because this guy backed a bipartisan ban on gender reassignment surgery for children. Folks, they're threatening each other. When a single Democrat steps out of line and says, hey, we need to protect the children, other Democrats join in the attack. Now, security, the police have been notified, and it was in the state of New Hampshire, of all places. A young black Democrat, 20-year-old, folks, 20-year-old. He got elected as a 20-year-old. You would think, hey, no, he's thinking for himself. He wants to ban sex change for children because he knows it's not good for him. In fact, this guy's name is Jonah Wheeler, state representative, Democrat. He's doing what's right. Well, we can't allow that. So they start threatening him. That's where we're at in this country. Those are Americans. Wait till these illegals from other countries get wild and crazy, folks. Street fighting is next, folks. Fighting in the streets. That is coming next. Are you prepared? Are you prepared? Crazy world. Okay, let's do this. Let's do some more super chats. You guys are keeping me busy, keeping the house a-rocking. At almost 2 hours, we got 360 people live still. What do you want to talk about? And by the way, it's going to be thousands of people will have watched this when we're done, despite YouTube lying about it, making up shit, erasing us, hiding us, shoving us in the corner. Thousands of people, because you are going to share this internet address and you'll thumbs up the video. You'll make it harder for them to get rid of us. And you guys are the real warriors right now, getting the information out. It's an information war. Truly it is. Okay, Jolene. Okay, Uman. Who is next? We got Steve Dimitris with a 556 super chat donation. He hit that button right up there. Right up there. That one up there. And he says, Ashley Babbitt's family, they're suing for only $30 million. I feel they should be asking for nothing less than $300 million and negotiate from there. It's interesting, Steve, that they put a value on people's lives. Now, she was shot, killed, right? And there's a lot of questions about the whole thing that went down, right? About what happened with Ashley Babbitt and Lieutenant what's-his-name, scumbag. Well, yeah, they're suing for $30 million. They should be suing the federal government for a lot more. Because it's not just that they killed her, that they, they're trying to stifle free speech. Now, she was in kind of a raucous room, but she didn't represent a huge life and death threat. The officer that shot her was behind a barricaded door in another room. I think he should be charged with the crime of murder. If any evidence comes out in the trial, he should be prosecuted for murder. Period. This country's falling apart, Steve. Yeah, they should sue, but we should all expect the fight to get real and come out of the courtrooms. Judges, beware. And I'm not talking about that judge in Nevada that had the criminal defendant leap over the desk and attack her, which I found interesting, to say the least. Judges and judges' families, legislatures and legislatures' families, executives in government, meaning mayors, governors, you and your families are going to be targeted. The pro-Palestinian, Hamas, Hezbollah terrorists, they know who you are, and they don't like you, whether you're Democrat or Republican or a judge or a legislator. They don't care. They're coming for you all, and you are going to lose your political immunity, all of you. And it's going to be a shit show. If they had held, listen, Steve, if they had held Officer Meatstick, who shot Ashley Babbitt, held him accountable and held the cops accountable for beating the shit out of the American people, with punching the one lady in the face, throwing another man off the balcony 20, 30 feet down below onto solid stone steps. They should be charged with murder, attempted murder, aggravated assault, violation of their oath, violation of the Constitution. They should be tried for their crimes and for treason and thrown in prison forever. That would convince the pro-Palestinian types, hey, this government doesn't fuck around. You want insurrection? Look at Antifa. Look at Black Lives Matter. That is insurrection. That is an attempted rebellion. Unbelievable. Yeah, they should ask for $300 million and make the government explain how little human life is worth and how unimportant their violation of our rights is. There should be a civil amount and there should be a penalty. But the government doesn't give a fuck about being penalized. They'll just tax you more to pay them. What do they care about dollar amounts? But they will tell you exactly what a human life is worth. How much money could an Ashley Babbitt make in her lifetime? Maybe a couple of $1 million. If you count all the money she made and invested it properly, yeah, $5 million. There you go. Get the fuck out of here. That's all they think about us, folks, is a dollar amount. They couldn't give a shit about your life or mine. But all the Americans out there, like you and me, all the veterans, all the hardcore warriors that are going to rise, look at how much damage we can do to them if we start taking action. When commotion turns into directed motion, that's when they're in trouble. Right now, Democrats are causing commotion, agitation. When action starts happening, look out. Look out. All right, we've got another super chat. Thank you, Steve, very much. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Great super chat donation there. 556, one of my all-time favorites. And Jolene has warned me next super chat at the 2-hour mark is Blue Court Devil with a $50 super chat donation, which means this. This bottle of Glenfiddich is almost done. And I got to tell you, it is a delicious 18-year single malt scotch. Uh-oh, poured a little too much there, Blue Cord. I guess I'll have to take care of it all. Whew. Here we go. Thank you, Blue Cord Devil, very much. Cheers, salut, semper fi. God bless America. Whoa. Man, oh man. All right. He says, hope everyone had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I survived, but was very rough. Seeing what's going on down south on Vaughn's channel out in Iowa makes me sad my wife isn't here anymore to live through this. Peace and prayers. Watch your six. Thank you very much, Blue Cord Devil, for that. And it's great advice. Watch your backs, folks. We need to watch the front, the left, right, behind us, everywhere. We need to look out for each other. Peace be unto all of you. But if war and terror is brought to you, you are authorized by the Almighty to protect yourselves. It is our right to protect ourselves. In fact, it's our duty to protect ourselves and the state. Watch your six. There are people that you think should be looking out for you, aka the government. They are not. They're not. We need to look out for each other, folks. Whether it's a bum at a train station, like happened once again up in Pennsylvania. Another man got pushed onto the tracks at a train station and was run over by the train seconds later. Don't ignore the risk a bum poses. Don't pretend like you don't see him. Stare at him. Let him know you see him. And if you're looking right at them, if they come at you, you can defend yourself. Don't pretend like you don't see him. There's a bum over there. I can't see him, because they'll blindside you. Same with the government. Don't pretend like the government isn't fucking us all over. Because if you're like, I don't see the government, yeah, everything's fine, they'll blindside you as well. And they're continuing to do just that. Just that. Because they don't care, folks. They don't care. Up in Toronto, the police are they're defending other people who want to deliver hot coffee to Hamas supporters who are blocking a bridge. Not only that, but these Hamas supporters are blocking a bridge so that they can obstruct people from getting into a Jewish neighborhood. And the police are not only allowing it, but they're defending it. Hey, go ahead, bring in that coffee. It's fine. Unbelievable. Just absolutely unbelievable. Understand, folks, government wants social and partisan war. Yes, the government is aiding and giving comfort to terrorists in Canada, in America. It's a violation of law. The police and the local governments are accessories to a crime being committed by the federal governments of Canada and the United States of America. Cops are not only, folks, derelict in duty, but they're accomplices using color of law to sanction terrorist activity. Expect it to get worse. Same with the American border down south. The Border Patrol are not only derelict in duty, but they're accomplices, and they're using color of law to sanction the infiltration and invasion of this country. If you go down there and try and stop it, they'll arrest you. They're sanctioning it. They're allowing it. They're accomplices to an invasion. The government wants social and partisan war in our country. The government itself is giving aid and comfort to terrorists coming here, and they're distributing in violation of the law throughout the country. They're all accessories to a great crime called treason. They are impeachable offenses. They should all be arrested and tried for treason. Unbelievable. And because of that, knowing they're committing treason, they're incredibly guilty. They're incredibly guilty. And they're not going to stop because they know what they're doing is wrong. They know what they're doing is wrong. They can't stop now. They've started it. Unbelievable. Tomorrow's Monday, January 8th, 2024. Chance favors the prepared mind is yours. Get prepared, folks. Help others get prepared. Tell them that the danger, it's not going away. In fact, it's worse than ever. Truly. And no one's going to help them if they don't help themselves. I'll see you 0 dark 30 tomorrow. Until then, sleep well, America. Get prepared.